cold powder snow, yo-ho, that's all that a man needs to know. That's all that a man needs to know.
Okay, today's June 30th, or May 30th, 2006. We're recording an interview with Mr. Paul Kerekes. It's right here. He served in World War II. His birthday is July 1st, 1917, and he worked as a mail carrier after the war. We're recording at Mr. Kerekes' house on Fulton Street, number 14109. I think that's it. And our camera operators are Scott Mason and Jordan Holmgren. Ready? Alright. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about your involvement. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. You were drafted or did you enlist?
I was about to be drafted and I enlisted before I got drafted.
Do you know about when you enlisted?
I think it was early in 35.
Okay. Do you know, where were you living then?
I was living here,
No?
right, Lowell, right where I am now.
Why did you pick the Army to serve?
Well, that's where my brother was, and that's why I enlisted there.
Were you kind of scared when you first joined, or?
No, I wasn't scared at all.
What was boot camp like? Can you explain what boot camp was like then?
Well, not really. We just went through the regulations of skiing and snowshoeing and firing our rifles.
Was that just at Camp Hale, or did you go to any camp before that?
No, I only went to Camp Hale. I did go to Camp Swift in Texas for a short time. Camp Hale was up in the mountains.
But you didn't have any different camps for boot camp training?
No.
What do you have a really strong, like, any specific memories about Camp Hale that you'd like to tell us about?
No, not especially. It was kind of mind-boggling to go down I think it was the Arkansas River, and I went from the camp down to Glenwood Springs in Colorado. And that's about the only closest I got to an adventure. There was times when there were rocks that would roll down the mountainside and get on the mill or on the railroad track. But that was the only thing that I was really interested in.
You were telling us before about a person who was skiing and his pack was so heavy he fell over. Could you tell us about that again?
Oh yes, the snow was well above your knees, and he got off the side. He made a mistake and fell, and his hands didn't reach down to help him up. And he had a heck of a time. Finally rolled over on his back and then got up on his skis again.
Were there a lot of mishaps like that, or was it just...
No, not too many. We did have trouble with ski troopers getting snow blind because they weren't wearing their goggles.
What was your uniform like at Camp Hill?
I think it was like the regular armies.
Can you explain in detail, or?
Well, it was khaki and had emblems on the 10th Division emblem on our shoulder patch and our corporal or sergeant, whatever regular rate we were.
What exactly were you training for at Camp Hill?
Well, I didn't know what we were training for. I just wanted to be in the mountain troops, and well, I didn't know where they were going or what they were training for. Only for war.
But you said before you had a brother in the Army. Was he at Camp Hill too?
Yes.
What was it like to have a brother?
I had two brothers in the Army. One was Carl and one was Lloyd.
What was it like to have brothers who were at the same camp?
Well, my brother lived just across the company street from me, and the other brother lived down the other end of the camp. He was in the Army before I was, and he was a sergeant, and had a special room all his own.
Do you have any specific stories about times with your brother there, or with any of your brothers?
Of course, I went over and saw my brother that was across the street from me, and his name was Lloyd, and I would visit and he would come over and see me when we got a chance, but that's about all I was. Oh, Robert Dole was in the area where we were, and I saw him once in a while. I don't think he ever recognized me.
Did you have any really close friends there when you were at the camps?
No, well, not that I know of. I was a mail clerk in the Army, and I went out and I slept out in the snow that night. And regiment was having a mock war. But when I woke up in the morning, I slept alone under a pine tree. And that was quite an experience. I was glad I wasn't having to follow around with them.
Was the mock war you were talking about, was that a normal thing for the camp, or was it just special for your...
The what?
You said you had a mock war, right?
Oh,
is that normal, or could you tell us about it?
Yeah, I think that was normal for basic training of soldiers.
Could you explain about it to us?
Well, there's not much to explain. We went through the training. Of course, we were up in it was Arctic training. We slept out in the snow. And I remember one night when I woke up and my face was exposed and it was snowing. And I felt like instead of cold, it felt like hot hitting my face. But that's the only experience I had up there.
What did you guys do for entertainment when you were at the camp?
What did we do?
For entertainment when you got bored?
Oh, entertainment? Well, every once in a while, the Army put on a dance and a party, and they'd have it at the mess hall. And that's as close as we got to entertainment.
Is there anything you guys did among yourselves? Not planned, just spontaneously did?
Oh, no. My wife was in Glenwood Springs, which was about 15 miles away. And anytime I got a chance, I went down to see her. But I didn't have the chance. I didn't get a pass very often.
When did you meet your wife?
When did I?
When did you meet her?
Oh, I met her, I think about 1933, a couple of years before we got married, and after about a year, and then I had to go to the Army.
And she followed you guys around while you were in the Army?
Yeah, she did. She went down, she lived in a little town named Bastrop, and that was near Camp Swift where we were based, and I went to see her there quite a bit.
Were there a lot of men who had their wives following them, or?
Yes, there was quite a few.
Did the wives have parties among themselves? Like, just because their husbands were all in the Army?
No, I don't think so, because their wives lived all different places. They couldn't get together very good.
Did your wife have any specific friends who had husbands in the Army?
Yes,
Do you remember?
yes, she had a special friend. Her name was Peggy Johnson, and her husband lived across the company street from me.
Did they keep in contact after the war?
No, they was too far away. They was halfway across the continent from me. I lived here in Lowell, Michigan, and they lived up in Wyoming.
Do you know how long you were in the service overall?
By about a year and a half.
Okay. And can you tell us what happened when you were no longer in the service? Can you tell us why?
Well, outside of my seeing the fellow that fell over in the snow and had a time getting out, that's about the only thing I remember. Of course, it was 30 degrees below zero quite a bit, and my older brother, who was a sergeant in the Army, I got frostbite, and I went down to the hospital and saw him while he was recuperating from the frostbite in his foot.
You were telling us that your brothers went to Italy to fight. Is that correct?
Yes, my whole regiment did. I had quite severe sinus infection, and they sent me home. I was out of the Army, but the rest of them went over to Italy, up the Po Valley. May I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, before you went, we were talking about how your brother had frostbite, right?
Oh, yes, he had it bad in his foot, and his foot was all swelled up and black, and that's about all I remember. It was 30 degrees below zero when I went to see him.
You told us about, last time we were here, you told us about a time when you were in your tent and you had the candles lit or something?
Oh, yes, it was 30 below, and I had a bunch of candles, a whole pack of them in my safety kit, and I put them in a row in a little bit of a tent, is big enough for two people, and we slept, of course, on the ground. and there was vents up in the peak, and I closed them up, and I thought it'd be nice to have it nice and warm in there. And I was sitting there looking at the candles, and they started going out one by one. And I realized I didn't have enough oxygen in the tent for a candle. So I got up quick and got outdoors.
Was it hard to breathe, or was it just the candles?
No, I couldn't tell it. That I thought was a good experience to remember, because I wasn't getting the oxygen enough for the candles to burn, but I didn't realize it. I didn't feel any different.
In Camp Hill, what was life like every day?
Well, they blow the bugle to wake us up, and we had to get ready to go outside and stand in formation and have them check us all out. And the first sergeant would come down and check us all and see if we'd shaved and got ready for the morning. That's the main thing I remember. Of course, they had what they call revelry at night. And then, but I didn't have to go to that because I was a mailman. I was busy doing other things.
What did you do during the day?
Well, I sorted mail for our troops, and when we were all away from the barracks, they would all circle around me, and I would call their names out for each letter with a different name. I would get it ready before I went out there, and then I would go out wherever they were. And of course, if it was all in the United States, and I'd go out where they were, and they'd get in a circle around me, and I had their letters sorted out beforehand, and I'd call out their name, and they'd come and get their letters. One incident that happened was kind of funny in a way, and kind of embarrassing, because one of the soldiers had a package, and I handed it to him, and he dropped it in the rock.
Whiskey wasn't allowed out there? Were booze like that loud? Alcohol? Was that loud?
No. He wasn't supposed to have that stuff. And there was one time that there was in the barracks, there was 2 stories high, and one in the back, and the ladder entrance to upstairs. And this one guy from downstairs, I don't know, he got confused. He'd been drinking, which was against the regulations. And he got out of the shower and come right out naked. He'd come right up the ladder and into where I was. He was kind of, didn't have all his wits about him. He fell over the rifle rack and he injured himself a little bit falling out of the way. That's the main thing that happened. Oh, I had one other experience too on the way to Glenwood Springs. I saw a cat off the side of the road that had its head in a boot jar, and it couldn't get out.
Oh, God.
And I went out, and you see, when he pulled his head out, that would make his fur over his skin He couldn't get it out. So I worked on him, pulled it out, put his skin out first, and then gradually got him out of the fruit jar. I think he would have died if somebody hadn't found him.
Okay. You said you were discharged for a sinus infection, correct?
What's what?
You said you were discharged because of a sinus infection
Oh,
before you went to Italy.
yes.
Before you went to Italy.
Yeah.
What did you do after you were discharged?
Well, I was busy. I was eventually the battalion mail clerk, and I had to ride around in a jeep with, or the snow, what do they call it? It was a snow buggy anyway, and it would go around and I'd distribute the mail to all the different companies in the area. I would get in contact with their mailman, and we did that. I was working in the post office before I went to the Army. That's how I got that job. I didn't have any choice.
Did you like that post?
Camp Hill, I kind of liked it up there, yes.
Did you choose to go there, or did they send you there?
No, when I enlisted, I requested to be sent there, and I was lucky enough to go there.
Did you request to go to Camp Hale or a mountainside?
Did I what?
Did you request a mountainside, or did you specifically ask for Camp Hale?
No, I told them I wanted to go to Camp Hale, and they went along with it somehow.
Where had you heard of it from?
Well, of course, my brother had been enlisted before I did, because he was young at draft age, and that's why I went up there. I was quite lucky on that.
Before you went to the Army, what did you do in Lowell?
I worked in the Lowell post office. I was a clerk in the post office. Well, I was a letter carrier on the east side of Lowell, east of the Flat River. I was there for about 3 or 4 years, I think.
What was Lowell like back then?
Well, Lowell isn't in a position to grow very much because it's situated in kind of like a valley, and or when it did grow, it grew up farther away than our local mailmen could walk. The rural carriers had to carry their mail.
Had you always lived in Lowell?
Yes, I was born here.
You went to Lowell High School and through the Lowell system?
Yes, I graduated from Lowell High School.
Okay. After your service, after you finished with the military, did you continue being a mail carrier?
Did I what?
Did you continue being a mail carrier?
Yes, I did.
Did your military experience affect you at all in that?
No, that had nothing to do with it. I was working in the post office when I volunteered, and then from then on, everything went according to what the Army wanted me to do.
Has your military experience affected you at all since you left?
The military?
Yeah.
No, They haven't said anything to me since I was sent home.
Have your experiences, like the things you remember, have you thought of them very much since you came back in all these years?
Oh, I was just awful glad to be out of the Army, that's all. It's nice to make my own decisions for once.
Have you joined a veteran society, or
Anyway,
have you joined like the VFW or a veteran society?
no, I didn't. I lived out here in the country and I didn't go to many of their meetings. Some of them I did go to, but I didn't belong to any of them.
Have you seen people that you served with, other than your brother? Have you seen anything from them or heard from them at all?
Oh, just very occasionally I hear from one of them out in Wyoming.
Anybody else, or
No,
could you tell us about your wife and your family? Could you tell us more about them?
my wife, she was born in this country. She was from Poland, and I was from England, and of course our parents were there, but they were in this country when I was born, both of them.
Did you have any children?
Yes, we had one child.
Who was that?
That's John Kerekes. He lives up at Rockford.
Do you have any grandchildren or great-grandchildren?
Oh, I have some grandchildren. There's 3 of them. Kristen, Paul, and Ryan.
Can you tell us about them? Do you have any stories about them?
No, Paul is, I think, probably is the oldest. He has helped me some with my work, but I haven't had much for them to do. They always wanted to work. They wanted to help me, but there wasn't much I could do that they could help me with.
Have you told them any of your military stories? Did they ever listen to those?
Did they want?
Did you tell them any of your stories from World War II when they were growing up?
Oh, I mean, one thing that in particular, let's see, one of my younger brothers was, we had nailed slats on a tree, and so we could climb the trees. And he got partway up, and one of the slats come loose, and it fell on the ground and lit on it, setting up, and it was stuck right in his pelvis bone. And I give it a quick jerk, and I was worried about him getting infection in it. And we took him down to the doctor, but everything came out okay.
Do you have any other stories you'd like to tell us? Anything in particular?
No, I think that's the most there is to it. We were together quite a bit, but there wasn't a lot of things we did together because as soon as we got out of high school, we moved out of the house. I got married.
Are there any other military stories you'd like to tell, or Just anything else in general?
No, I think me seeing Bob Dole up near the camp. And I know he never saw me, he didn't know me, but I know he was there. And I saw him, I was sleeping in the snow near headquarters. And he was there for a short time. That's before he went to the hospital, I think.
Did he serve in Italy with your brothers?
What?
Was he in Italy with your brothers?
Yes. I didn't go overseas because of my sinus infection. I was out of the army. My brother, my brother Lloyd was killed in action over in Italy and up in the mountains.
How did your family take his death? Were they okay about it, or?
Well, it was quite a trying time. Of course, they sent his body home. He was buried up in the little cemetery.
Did your other brother, did he come home with any stories?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't ever in any really bad trouble, but he did say that he heard a bullet whistle by just over his head when he was sleeping one night.
Must be scary.
What was that?
That must have been scary for him.
Oh, yes, he said he didn't know where to go or what to do because he didn't know where the next shot was going. That was when he was over in Italy. They were getting up near Brenner Pass.
Do you know anything about the battles in Italy that they were in?
Not too many. I know that Lloyd's company, I don't know how many was in the company, but it was close to 200, I think. They went down a hill and they was battling the Germans. And there wasn't many of them that lived through that battle. He was fortunate enough to live through that.
Your other brother, does he stay in contact with anyone? Or did he?
Yes, he's gone out to California. He's gone out to see Pierre Delphos, who was in my company, but Delphos were quite friends.
What was daily life like when you were in high school back home?
Well, I don't know. I studied like all the rest of the students. And I wasn't much interested in education. I was too interested in outdoor life, hunting and fishing. And there wasn't anything much happened. Oh, except one time in a chemistry class, Adrian Zweimer was a teacher, and he would open up a can, not live, of course.
No.
You know, one of the cats got away from him and run up the street. I guess I can't remember. It must have been a drape that they pulled, and he run right up and stayed up there and tried to stay away.
Poor thing. What did you do at home after school?
Oh, after school, I'd come home and we would My younger brothers and I we would play touch football, and we would play catch a lot when it was the baseball season. And outside of that, there wasn't much we could do.
Did you do anything in downtown Lowell?
No, I was outside of Lowell a mile, and I wasn't interested in city life at all.
Did you get a TV like during your high school years, or like
TV?
television? A television set?
Did you say TV?
TV.
TV?
Like the television over there.
Yeah.
Did you have one of those?
Well, I remember the first radio that you had to have headphones or you couldn't hear anything. And my father kept a guide of all the different cities in the United States. It wasn't divided up like it is now into sections. And it took in the whole United States, and it was quite interesting. He would keep a list of all the different places he had contacted.
Did you like those things, or did you find those types of things interesting?
Oh yeah, I was interested in them all right. But I was too young to do any of it myself.
What was your favorite class in high school? Or
Favorite pastime?
favorite class?
Like school
Favorite class?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess science classes.
Did you just like them, or were you good at that class? Especially good at it?
Oh yeah, oh sure, I liked them. That was the one time we had an experiment in the chemistry class, and they told us it was time to quit. We had to change classes, and the girls all got excited and then left the burners going. And that caused quite a lot of problems over there. We were making some kind of gas that smelled like rotten eggs, and quite a few of them, and left that thing and left them generating our code. And that's about the only main thing that I remember. Oh, I do remember a time when one of the boys, the rural boys all went in the lower hall at the high school and ate our lunch there. And there was one time that one of the boys, he was kind of afflicted, and he made faces all the time. And he was a rural boy, and when they got through lunch, there was a row of coat hangers in the hall, and they hung him up by his belt on the coat hanger, and he was up there making faces at everybody. That caused quite a riot.
Did you have a favorite pastime in high school?
No, I was just glad that when we'd get out and go home. That was my main goal.
Did you do any traveling after you got out of the military? Did you go anywhere?
Uh, We went to Arizona once, and we lived near Tucson, and you could see the mountains from there, and I was quite interested in that, but a lot of the trip was, I went on the railroad, and it was a real boring trip, really. I just sat there and sleep, except in the mountains, and that kind of kept me awake. Because we didn't know what we was going to meet next up there.
Did you like traveling, or more of a home person?
No, I never liked riding in a car, even like a lot of the boys would like to get out and ride up and down Main Street and have a good time, but I didn't go for that at all. I like to stay around home, and of course I helped out mowing lawns, and I was splitting wood for our own use. And outside of that, there was not much going on.
Did you live on a farm, or?
No, I was in kind of in between farm life and city life. I didn't get interested in either one. I did dig potatoes for a while, and that was a real problem because the land where the farmer planted his potatoes was kind of on the hill, and it was hard to get the fork in because there were so many small stones. And then you had to lift them up, lift up the potatoes. They were planted in hills. You'd lift them up and shake them out, and then it was kind of hard. You got paid 5 cents a bushel for picking up potatoes.
Goodness.
And you would pick them up and put them in a bucket, and when it got it full, you dump it in a bushel crate.
Did you do that a lot, or was that just a one time?
We did it every fall for about 3 or 4 years.
What else did you have any other jobs? Just kind of high school jobs?
No, I did other than mowing. My folks had pretty good sized lawn, and that would be probably have to mow it twice a week. That was before we had power mowers. You had to push the mower.
I've seen those.
And it wasn't bad work. I didn't realize how tough it was going to be, but when the crabgrass started growing, that was tough. And you couldn't hardly push the mower, it wouldn't go, the blades wouldn't go around good enough to cut it. You could push it real hard, and it would just go along and push the grass over because the blades weren't turning. The wheels were skidding.
Did you like doing that, or was it just kind of something you felt you had to do?
Oh, I never questioned it. When there was work to be done, I had to do it. That's all I was doing.
Was there any specific chore you liked doing more than the others, or just did them all because you had to?
Well, of course, picking the yard was another duty I had. Every half hour I had to move the spray and watch that. Of course, there was screech owls in those days, and I was outdoors, and the screech owls would come sailing around and making that awful noise they make. And I was afraid of the thing, so I went in the house. I don't suppose you've ever heard screech owls, but I haven't heard one in years. And that's another thing, we don't have mosquitoes lately like we used to. They used to really, I don't know how we ever stood it. They gang up on you and sting you all over. I finally got so the swelling went down in about a half hour, but I think I was getting immune to them.
How much?
Well, that was before we had the dope off and stuff to put on us to keep bugs away. That's something that there was that, and of course radio was just coming on, and we would have to we'd draw lots to see who could listen to the radio. I know you probably can't even picture that nowadays, but that was quite a treat to be able to get the earphones so you could hear the different radio stations.
Were there any you liked to listen to in particular? Do you remember any stations that you liked to listen to in particular?
Oh no, usually Jumpin' JR in Detroit was one of them. I was fortunate enough to, my young man lived down here, my uncle, and he took me down to Detroit to WJR, and I could see the broadcasting station there. That was real interesting. And that was the days when they had a rumble seat in the car. You know what that is?
You have a little seat that pops up in the back?
Instead of raising up this way, it raised the other way. And then there was a seat and that was quite a treat to ride in that. We went out one time, I remember going to a lake, and I had us kids, there was three of us in the rumble seat. And every once in a while the gravel would fly up and hit you. And that was one thing that to remember.
Did your family own a car?
No, not, well, they did, but that was, I guess I was about 15 years old before they had a car. My father worked in the post office, and it was all he could do to support a family. It's something that I never thought of before until just lately, that how things change as you grow older. I'm thinking about the adults now. They have to feed, they have to clothe, and entertain their children. They don't have to do all that like they used to. That meal time, you'd all get together around the one family around the table. And I think, especially the city children, they don't have to do that anymore. So,
Did your family always do that, eat all together?
yeah, quite often they did. As kids, when if we had gotten old enough in our early teens, we'd make little log cabins out in the woods. And we always had a little stove going.
It's not too distracting, is it?
Yeah. That's one thing I want to get me is on the electric. I don't want it no more to do with gasoline engines. That's too much work for me at my age. But I'd like to get on an electric weed whacker to trim the grass up there on my little hillside. Because I got, nobody wants to do it like this fellow working here. Because I got flowers that live in tall grass.
Yeah.
I know where they are, and strangers don't.
Is there anything else that you can kind of think of from your life that you'd like to share?
Oh, well, there is one thing that Lloyd Stauffer lived a little ways from me up on Mount Com Avenue. That's just down the street about a block or two. And I went up to see him one day, and he sat on the porch, with dangling his feet off of the porch. And he had a chicken sitting beside him. And come to find out it was a pet chicken. That's a funny thing, things that country boys, or I suppose city boys too, but I know about the country boys. But that chicken would follow him around everywhere he went. And I thought that was real interesting. But outside of that, I didn't have too much experience with anybody.
Did you have any pets like that?
Yes, we had a chicken hawk for a pet for a while. That would fly down and land on our shoulder, and it always used to scare me because I don't know if you know how a bird's eyes flicker when they flash, kind of like they're flashing. And he would look at me and those eyes flash, and I was wondering if he was going to peck my eye out.
Do you know how old you were when you had him, or
How old was he?
were you a little kid, or were you older?
Oh, I was probably about 15 years old. My younger brothers robbed a nest, and we fed night crawlers to the young birds until they matured and they grew quite tame. I remember when I was married that's right, I was married when we had one, and we raised it. Oh, that got in this, where my carport is. It was laying on the ground out there, and we brought it in, and it had fell out of a nest. And we raised it. We'd cut the night crawlers up in sections, and later on he would eat the whole thing. And my wife took him out the back door here, that's right out here. And she had him on her arm, and she took him out until she thought he'd fly away, and he did, and he flew up near the tree. And you should see the smaller birds go after him. Oh man, did they was so excited, all the other birds, when they saw that hawk. It must be that hawks attack small birds, and it's a bit contrary to what I think of it, because quite often you see a small bird following a hawk, especially as crows, I guess, not more than hawks that they follow.
boards upon cold powder snow, yo-ho, what more does a man need to know? 2 boards upon cold powder snow, yo-ho, that's all that a man needs to know. That's all that a man needs to know.
At last I go up to the mountain. It's one doggone place you should see. The minute they get there, I'm happy. They run out and jump on my ski. Hey, moolah, they all call me moolah. Don't know where to get a hold of my name. They never told any of them fellas, but they call me moolah, you're still same.
The story of Company G begins in the early summer of 1943. An experienced cadre, headed by First Sergeant John Hemingway, took charge of the recruits who came from all over the country and from other mountain regiments.
Every Sunday morning, there comes a jolly bunch of kids who jump and show their form. Oh, the big and small and big, they all come dressed in steel and big, young until they're blue. And then when they get through, the president pulls the string and they all begin to sing. Ya, ya, it's so hard. Lose the pistoletta, lose the pistoletta. Ya, ya, it's so hard. Lose the pistoletta, random them and shoot. And when the jumping's over and the day is done, they hurry from the mountain top to have a little fun. Oh, small and big, the big and small, come to dinner and go home. The drink a foamy brew, they on a rosy dew. The president pulls the string and they go back home and sing. Ya, ya, it's so hard. Lose the pistoletta, lose the pistoletta. Ya, ya, it's so hard. Lose the pistoletta, then the men are shoot.
February 8th, 1944. Dear folks, I skied last weekend at Cooper Hill, dashed off in the truck with some friends, and skied all day long in the most beautiful weather you've ever seen. Deep blue skies, mountains all around, skiing in perfect powder snow at 11,000 feet. Loads of love. Private Edward Nickerson.
Oh, give me seeds and some gold and twister, and let me see way up on out of this so you can take your snowshoes and burn and blister, and everywhere I go I'll give my wall. The bar lay in the mountain inn, there learned the way, yes, the misery to sin. Along came the skier, fresh from off the slope. He's the one that ruined me and shattered all my hopes. Singing 90 pounds of rock, stacked a pound of drugs or two. He was just a mountain like his daddy used to do. He asked me for a cabin, so to light his way to bed. He asked me for a curve just to cover up his head. I, like a foolish maid, thinking it's no harm, jumped into the sea and tried to keep the steer warm. Singing 90 pounds of rock, stacked a pound of grub or two. He was just a mountain like his daddy used to do. He will shook the mountains like his daddy used to do.
We started out early Monday morning and hiked up a long road, then turned off along Tennessee Pass. The riflemen skied, the mortar and machine gun men pulled toboggans loaded with weapons. After digging in and sitting around all afternoon freezing, we moved out. It was slow going, pitch dark. At 4 a.m. we reached our bivouac. I slept in my bag for 2 precious hours, then had breakfast of 5 cold biscuits and some sugar lumps and candy. We left our sleeping bags behind and floundered, with our still none too light packs, through deep, bottomless powder snow.
And some golden sister, and let me see way up on out of the sea you can take your nose to the bird and sister, and everywhere I go I'll give my all. Everyone was keen to see how it would all come out. The winter warfare board was standing anxiously about, and even Maximus Davis had been sent up there to scout, and everyone was waiting for the Lord. Oh, give me these and some golden sisters, and let me see way up on out of the sea you can take your nose to the bird sisters, and everywhere I go I'll give my Lord.
week before last, we went on maneuvers. Mules were attached to the various companies to carry ammunition. I was assigned a mule to lead. The ammunition was simulated, and I would to God the mule had been simulated. We were going down the road in burning sunlight when 4 P-40s came over at about 40 feet. The mules brayed in terrified tones and took off in all directions.
The following oral military history project is a series of documentaries in association with the Lowell area men and women who proudly served and sacrificed, part of their lives to preserve the opportunities for all of us to build our businesses and raise our families under a blanket of freedom. For reservations and more information, contact the Lowell Area Historical Museum at 616-897-7688.